Good day, my name is Chima, and in the screen here you can see my phone number and my email address. This is for contacting me if you have any question about the topic we are just discussing. Now, the topic for discussion is relevant costing. What is a relevant cost? A relevant cost is any cost that can affect your decision. So any cost or any cost item, if considered, would give you relevant things for decision making, or let's say different variables. When you consider that item, it gives you different results. That item is a relevant cost. What do I mean? Let's look at a level of activity, so to speak. If we are to use labor hours as our level of activity, which normally is what is being used for performance management operations. Let's say we produce nothing, and so we don't have any labor hours to spend on. That means you're not going to spend anything. Let's say we are using variable cost as an example. You won't buy any material. Yes, you won't buy material. You won't spend on labor hours. So we're talking about direct labor hours now. It's a variable cost. If you spend 1 hour making a unit, if you make 1 unit, you're going to spend money paying the labor rate for 1 hour. If you make 10 units, you're going to spend the money for 10 units, which is a bigger cost than for 1 unit. If you are to make 100, 1000, the cost gets increasing, and so they are relevant. So what is a relevant cost? I would say a relevant cost is any cost item that can affect decision making, either positively or negatively. So, what are some examples of relevant costs or features features of a relevant cost? So what are the features of relevant costs? So let's look at a few of them. The first one, it must be a variable cost. Variable cost. Okay, let me not use variable cost. Now this is an example. It must be cash flow. So any cost that results in the flow of cash is relevant. Hence, any cost item that does not involve the actual flow of cash is irrelevant. Examples are depreciation and profit. Profit is not a cost item anyway, but I'm just showing you that profit is different from revenue. Profit is not cash, and cash is not profit. Depreciation does not involve the movement of cash. It's just a recognition of a change or in the value of an asset because of wear and tear. So it doesn't involve the flow of cash. So let's look at another feature. There are futuristic. They are futuristic. That means any cost that is spent or will be spent in the future are relevant. Now, this means that you watch out for future tense such as will be incurred, is likely to be incurred, will be purchased. All these are futuristic verbs which show that any cost that comes with these kind of words are relevant. Then the next one is incremental. So if a cost is incremental, it means that if an activity is increased, the cost will increase also. This mainly apply to fixed costs. We'll look at them later. Then we have avoidable. Avoidable. Any costs that can be avoided is relevant. If a cost will impact negatively on a production and can be avoided, management can decide to avoid that cost. Hence, that cost is relevant to management decision. Then we have opportunity costs. This is the cost of foregone items. For example, the opportunity cost of registering for ICANN exams is the cost of phone forgone so that the exam could be written. So these are features of relevant costs. So let's look at features of non-relevant costs. So let's look at it again. The first one is non-cash. Write these things like this. Non-cash flow. Say example is depreciation, which we just discussed. Example is depreciation. We have sunk costs. These are costs that have been incurred in the past. So you see words like where, was, past tense. We also have committed costs. These are costs that will be spent in the future, but a commitment has been made on it in the past. Hence, we do not touch the commitment because it must be fulfilled, i.e., unavoidable. So you see, committed cost is cost that is like unavoidable. You committed a part of your salary to paying ICANN exams. So when you are planning your salary, you do not touch that part. So you don't even plan with the committed part, even though it is futuristic, but because there is a commitment on that amount, you do not touch it. It is non-relevant. Then we talk about unavoidable costs. We've discussed that any costs that must be incurred is unavoidable. unavoidable and thus irrelevant. So next one is non-incremental. So any costs that remain static despite the level of activity is non-incremental and is not relevant. So we've seen features of relevant costs and the feature of non-relevant costs. So you know when you are given exam questions to find out which costs are relevant, all you need to know is that variable costs are relevant because they are incremental. Fixed costs are non-incremental. They remain static. Fixed costs are unavoidable. You must pay them because they are period costs. Some of the fixed costs could be committed costs. There are also sunk costs. Some variable items too could be sunk costs. So it's not all variable items um, that are relevant. Anyone that is sunk, occurred in the past, is no longer relevant. So what are the relevant costs of material and relevant cost of labor? Relevant costs of material. So our next focus is the relevant cost of material. Relevant costs of material can be gotten using this diagram below. Let's see if I can get the diagram below. Let's see. Okay. Let me use this color. No, let me use this color. Then use this shape outline. Outline. Is the material available available in stock? That's the first question. Then we can either say yes. We can either say yes or we can say no. So let me make it like this. We can say yes, we can say no. Either answer yes or we answer no. So what if we have answered yes? Hold on, let's add text here. Okay. Let's say we are saying, start shapes again. We can say yes, we can say no. So what if we are saying yes? Sorry, I have to format this shape. Okay. So let me add text here. I'll say yes. If the material is available in stock, yes. Ask the next question. So let's see how make this thing very small. Okay, let me make it small, size 8. Ask the next question. So let me shift this down. Yeah, good. Ask the next question. So what if it is a no? What if it is a no? If your answer is no, sorry, I have to shift this on a little so I can make. Okay. So if this is a no, it's a no. So if there is no material in stock, if the material is not in stock, purchasing purchasing cost is relevant. So let me make it smaller, say 7. Purchasing cost is relevant. So this is the relevant cost here because if there is no material in store, you will have to buy the material, so it becomes relevant. Purchasing cost at the current market price. So now let's say we are asking the next question. This one will take us to asking the next question. So let's ask the next question. Sorry, I should have used arrow. So let's ask the next question. The next question I'm going to ask now is I'll say is the material which is available in stock in constant use. So you see, the material is available in stock. That's why we said yes. And I'm repeating it. Is the material which is available in stock in constant use. So here, the first one here, the emphasis is on the availability. The second one here is on the constancy in use. So once again, we can answer yes or no. So if we were to answer yes, let's say we answered yes here. So if we answered yes, what is going to be our relevant cost? Our relevant cost is going to be, we're not going to be asking the next question. We will be looking at it as if it is in constant use. That means whenever you take any item, you replace. Replacement cost is relevant. So because it is in constant use, if you take it, somebody else will be using it in another department, and so you have to replace. So replacement cost is relevant. What if you were to choose no as your answer? If you were to choose no as your answer, so what do we do here? Insert shapes. If it is not in constant use, you ask the next question. Ask the next question. So, what is the next question? The next question has to be a repetition of all this. If the material which is okay, if the available material is, sorry, I need to ask the next question. I'll put the arrow here. If the available material is not in constant use, Does it have alternative use or uses? So if we don't use it constantly in our production, can we have an alternative use for it? So we can either answer yes. If we answer yes, that it has an alternate use. Sorry, let me shift this one up. If we answered yes, that it has alternate use, so what is going to be our relevant cost? Our relevant cost will be opportunity costs. So opportunity costs, opportunity cost is relevant because if it has alternative use, it means if you use that material for whatever you want to do with it, you will forego the alternate use of the material. If you have to use the material for the alternative, you will forego the main objective. So this is opportunity cost. What if it doesn't have alternative use? What will be the relevant cost here? In case it doesn't have alternative use, then the relevant cost is relevant cost is nil. So if it doesn't have alternative use, what it means is that the material is available, it is not in constant use. And so if you don't use it, it has no other use. Unless you use it for that material, for that project, it will have no other use. So what is the value of it? Nil. Or disposal, or disposal value is relevant. Okay, let me bring this out. So it's either nil or disposal value. When we say disposal value, we mean taking this material and disposing them, maybe because they are perishable and you don't use them, they are going to get spoiled. Just say, let's say things perishable like tomatoes and all that, they are materials. If you don't use them, they have no other alternative use. Let's say they are going to perish and you dispose them. So this is the relevant cost of material. Take it again. Is the material available in stock? You can say yes, you can say no. If it is available in stock, then you ask the next question. If it is not available in stock, then it means you need to purchase the material so that you can use it for your project. So the purchasing cost is relevant. So if it is available, ask the next question. Is the material which is available in stock in constant use? Okay, let me use the word also in constant use. So it can be in constant use, it may not be in constant use. So let's see this way. If it is in constant use, then replacement cost is relevant because you have to replace whatever you have taken out. Whatever you've taken out, you have to replace it. That's why the replacement cost is relevant. But if it is not in constant use, you ask the next question. And the next question says, if the material is not in constant use, does it have alternative use? So the emphasis here is on the alternativeness of the material which is not in constant use. So not in constant use, alternative material, alternative uses, opportunity cost presents itself. Not in not no alternative use, disposal or nil value. So look at the order. Look at the availability of the material. Look at the constancy of use for the available material. Then look at the alternative use of the material not in constant use. Now that is the relevant cost for material. Let's see if we can get that for labor. So let me see if I can use similar thing for labor. Relevant cost of labor. So let's go down and play with this. Let's see how we can play with this. It's that page. What did I do? Okay, so I'm finding it a little bit difficult here. Okay, so let me see how I can also use this one for grouping. Let me see how I can use this for labor. Hold on a moment. Good. So I got it this time around. So let's change this into relevant cost of labor. So Relevant cost of labor can be gotten using this diagram below. So I will be removing this, moving this, okay, come back here again, I'll remove this, I'll remove this, okay, go up here, remove this, so I'm trying to adapt with the material. So first question, is the labor already in permanent employment? So when we say labor is in permanent employment, it means, is it existing in the workforce? Are they paying the laborers for the job a salary, a fixed salary? If they are in permanent employment, they are not like contract staff that can be sacked anytime. They are permanent employees. So if they are not in employment already and the job requires that you employ them, so you pay them, you employ them and pay the hourly the hourly stroke piecemeal the hourly or piecemeal wage is relevant. So the hourly or piecemeal wage is relevant. So the money you pay them for doing work per hour or work per unit is relevant. If they are already in employment, you need to ask the next question. So what would the next question be like? Is the permanent labor having a spare capacity? What do you mean by spare capacity? Spare capacity are those times that you are not doing your job at the moment. It means that time you are using to play computer game, uh, that time you're using to gist with your friend, you're not doing the work at hand, that time you play doing other things. Those hours you steal to run and go and see one person in another place to gist with, or even that time you steal to do your personal reading or personal business, is spare capacity. So it's possible you have spare capacity. If you have a spare capacity, that means you can use that spare capacity to do the job and you will not be paid because you are already in permanent employment. So when you see anything that has spare capacity, it relates to permanent employment. It relates to permanent employment. Uh, Temporary employments do not have spare capacity because it is the number of hours they worked that they will be paid, the number of units they produce that they will be paid. Spare capacity, your pay is fixed. If you don't have any job to do at the moment, we have a project that we are doing. Use that your spare capacity to do that project. I've already paid you or fixed your wages, so I don't need to pay you specially for this project. And so the relevant cost is nil. Relevant cost is nil. So whenever there is mention of spare capacity, always use nil value for those hours that are spare. So if there is no spare capacity, you have to ask the next question. And what is the next question? The next question is, since the permanent labor has no spare capacity, is overtime possible? Overtime may be possible or it may not. If overtime is possible, then overtime premium is relevant. Overtime premium is relevant. So overtime premium will be paid. So the premium is the extra amount you pay them for doing overtime. Then if there is no overtime possible, then opportunity cost is relevant. So if overtime is not possible, then opportunity cost is possible. So it's either you stop that project or you stop existing job to do that project. So for you to stop an existing job to do the project, whatever cost you are going to lose from stopping of that project, let's say the contribution that you are going to lose from that project, you are going to add it to the cost of the new project that you are having on hand. That is the opportunity cost. So it's either you don't stop what you are doing and risk having opportunity cost, but you have to do overtime, or you don't do overtime, but you stop something that you are doing presently so that you can achieve the project on hand. So we can see that we've successfully done relevant cost of material and relevant cost of labor. So in our next video, we shall see how we can apply the relevant cost of material and the relevant cost of labor in order to solve problems. So we are going to see how we can solve problems using this relevant cost of material and relevant cost of labor. So preparing myself for the next slide, which will now solve our question. Call it question solving. So that is where we will continue question solving So thank you for watching this first slide. So it's a summary. We've seen relevant costs. This is the cost that makes you take decision. So we see some costs that are involved in making decision, and the features of the non-relevant costs can be seen here. Then we look at relevant cost of material and relevant cost of labor. So we'll be solving a problem now in our next slide. My name is Chima, and this is my phone number 080 695 685 30, and my email address is chiwaji@gmail.com. You can also look out for me in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, anything using Chiwaji. Thank you so much. I'll see you again in the next slide when we'll be solving a problem.